Oh, I've been working on other things, not just this.
Oh, I see. You and Beamer?
No, we had a little GoPro recording in the basement.
Oh.
I got a new drum set, and I'm pretty happy about it, if you can't tell. Yeah. We're in there grunge rocking, man. But welcome back, everyone. We're talking about the Deer Tour states and the Deer Tour schedule. That's been one of the questions that we've been getting a ton lately from you guys, is where in the world are we going hunting this fall? So to kick things off on the Deer Tour, we're going to be going to North Dakota, but at that same time, two of us are going elk hunting with the guys from Born and Raised Outdoors and hunting Colorado over the counter.
Yep.
And you're going to be one of them going.
Sweet. I don't know much about it at all, so I'm excited.
Yeah, I think you're going to have a good time. The guys that you're going with seem to know what they're doing when it comes to these over-the-counter states and such.
Yeah, should be sweet.
We're going elk hunting first 7-8 days of September in Colorado. At least a couple of us. As of right now, I think it's going to be Ted and Zach that are going. But to kick things off for the Deer Tour, we're going to start in North Dakota on the opener. And we might even go out there a little early, like a couple days early.
That's the hope. Get some scouting in.
I hope we can go a couple days early because we got work to do earlier that week that I just found out about yesterday. So I'm hoping that it doesn't delay the beginning of the Deer Tour. But point is, we're trying to get all this work crap done right now so that we can just take off and start cranking videos for you guys and hunting deer. We're going to start in North Dakota. Greg's been map scouting some properties up there that look awesome. It's going to be a long drive getting to where we're going, but I think it'll be worth it. And we should have a pretty sweet trip. That's going to be similar to the Nebraska hunts the past few years where you're doing lots of glassing, lots of long-distance observation, and trying to get in tight on these things. So that will be fun. Public land North Dakota. Then after that, we're hunting public land Nebraska, and that should take us through the middle of September. And around the middle part of the month, our tentative plan is to go and hunt Missouri or Wisconsin as of right now, because both those states open around the 15th of September. And like that 15th through the 30th of September is a really good time to hunt. I mean, the whole month of September is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a great time to hunt.
Yeah.
It's easier to pattern.
Yeah, I mean, the weather's usually pretty nice as long as you don't get super hot days. I mean, we were in Kentucky last year, and September 1st, it was 92, so that was a little rough. But the weather, for the most part, is decent.
Yeah, especially in North Dakota, should be pretty sweet.
Yeah, should be nice. In Missouri and Wisconsin come middle part of the month, latter part of September. Hopefully it'll be nice weather.
Mm-hmm.
If it is, the hunting can be awesome. And I also forgot to mention Jake is going with Ted Miller to Wyoming elk hunting
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yep.
as well.
Yep.
Later in September.
Yeah,
like September 20th, I think.
Yeah, and those guys they're going to be on.
Yeah,
some bulls,
That should be cool.
Yeah,
So that's the month of September. What do you guys think about that?
that sounds sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're just going to be hunting nonstop. Not all of us at once, and that was another question we got recently was like, so you guys are gone nonstop from September 1st until, end of January, and I wouldn't say any one of us is.
No.
We have enough guys in our group that we space things out. We go on a lot of trips where there's just 2 to 4 of us on a trip. So I'm pretty stoked. I haven't went on one of these western whitetail hunts with you guys the last 2 years, so I really want to experience that. That looks like so much fun.
Yeah.
And then in early October, and we'll probably spend some time talking about this, early October we're going to be in Michigan for the Public Land Challenge.
Yep.
And Zach just talked to Jeff Sturgis at Whitetail Habitat Solutions, and I'm hoping that Jeff is going to be in. And I hope that he brings Dylan Lenz with him because that's one of our other buddies. Dylan helps Jeff at Whitetail Habitat Solutions. The challenge will be in Michigan. It will be early October. I'm not going to say where.
I'm sure we'll get a lot of questions. So
Yeah.
what county are you guys going to be in?
Yeah.
What town?
Yeah, we'll get a lot of questions on it. And it'll be a team from THP. One of us will be hunting. Hopefully Jeff Sturgis from Whitetail Habitat Solutions. At least it sounds like that. Dan Imfault, Hunting Beast, he is a staple at the Public Land Challenge because it was his idea in the first place. And then the guys from Tethrd will be there. And John Eberhardt will be there. John is having shoulder surgery in, I think, pretty quick here. Maybe it's in early September. I don't recall. He's having shoulder surgery, and he's not real sure that he's going to be able to pull a bow back by the 1st of October. Either way, he's coming down to chill and camp and probably shoot some podcasts.
That'd be
And
cool.
one member of the Tethrd team will be hunting in the challenge. So you're going to have a full-on saddle hunting perspective in the Public Land Challenge. You're going to have Dan Imfault, his style, and maybe another beast guy. I mean, Dan can bring whoever he wants. I don't care. And that should be a pretty awesome group, I would think. There's going to be a lot of different scenarios, and it's going to be Michigan opening week. So super, super tough hunting. People have been wanting us to come up there for a while, and we're pretty stoked about it. That's going to be fun. The challenge is going to last about a week in total. I would assume we'll have just as many videos on it as we did last year at the Minnesota Public Land Challenge. I think we had 4 or 5 videos from it. And we'll be doing podcasts and stuff along the way. I really want to get Dan Imfault and John Eberhardt on a podcast. That would be pretty sweet. And I think they're both game to do it. I talked to John and Dan both individually in the last couple weeks, and John was like, yeah, sure, I'd love to talk to him. And Dan was like, yeah, sure, sounds good. And do we have any questions? Sorry, I've just been talking to you guys. I haven't been looking at the questions.
Yeah, there's some questions coming in. People are asking where in Michigan. We'll just say Michigan for now.
Yep.
We can't share that with you just
You'll
yet.
know as soon as the videos drop, and we're going to try to crank them out as fast as they happen there.
Yeah. And that's another thing with this Public Land Challenge that I don't think a lot of people know is it is an undertaking to try to get all of this footage pulled together in a day or two. You know, on a lot of these trips, we got one guy with a tag and the other guy's helping film. So you got a couple cameras with cards coming in every day that you got to log and then start editing. But on the challenge, you got at least four different teams with 4 different camera setups. And they may be they may be scattered all over the state. I mean, so like last year, you and Dan and Joe weren't getting back to camp till 1 in the morning. There's at least 1 to 3 people constantly editing throughout the challenge just so we can get these videos out to you guys as soon as possible.
We introduced Garrett Prawl to McDonald's editing last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, Garrett Prall's the DIY sportsman on YouTube. And Zach actually just did a podcast with him here recently that's pretty sweet. The challenge is awesome. It is a ton of work, but it's totally worth it to see everybody tackle a brand new piece of public land, and that's how the challenge works. We all pick an area of a state where we've never been before, and we make sure nobody in the challenge can have hunted there in the past. That's the only rule that there is. Basically, you can go wherever you want so long as it's public land. Steve asked, how's the new truck? Yeah. Me and Greg just recently bought a couple of twin Toyota Tundras, 06s. How do you like yours so far, Greg?
Love it. I'm already thinking about how to deck out the camper to be able to sleep in the back and store gear, to be even more mobile than what we are, especially like when we're in Iowa. Being able to go 2 or 3 hours away and hunt some new public land, sleep in the back of the truck for a couple nights, and kind of get out and explore more of our home state.
Yeah.
Super
That'd be
pumped about
sweet.
it.
They're both used older Tundras, but they should be perfect hunting rigs. Yeah, so we're going to wrap up in Michigan between the 6th and the 8th of October. And then we'll probably come back and hunt Iowa for at least 2 weeks through mid to late October. That's the money time.
If you go back and look at our run from early to mid-October last year, there was a lot of encounters.
Yeah, I wish
Not so many dead deer or dead
Right.
bucks. Jake did on the 14th, but you talk about encounters with mature bucks.
I'd love to be here early October too, but you can't be in 2 places at once.
Yeah.
So we'll hunt Iowa through the middle and latter part of October, and then Jake has a Kansas tag that he drew. So Jake will be hunting Kansas in probably early November, and I think that a pretty good-sized crew of us will go on that hunt, probably 4 of us, because 2 of us can hunt in Oklahoma, 2 of us on an over-the-counter tag, and then 2 of us can hunt in Kansas during that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if anybody will hunt Iowa first week in November. Zach also mentioned at some point they're going to New York.
Mm-hmm.
That would be really fun if
Yeah.
a couple of us went and did that hunt. I'm not sure how the logistics of that would lay out really, but that is a potential option, PA or New York. We make these tentative plans on where we're going to try to get to. Obviously, as you guys can tell, where they're pretty loosely based. We have a handful of states and things that we are committed to. Like Jake is hunting Kansas. He has the Kansas tag. We are going to Michigan. We've already got the month of September pretty much planned out. But once we start getting into the rut, it really depends on where we're at, and how much success or lack thereof that we're having.
Mm-hmm.
Because we may, if we go to Kansas and Oklahoma and we struggle, we may be there for 5-6 days. We may be there for 12. So really the middle part of the rut is kind of up in the air. I know that we'll be back here hunting in Iowa some during that time, but it's possible that at least one group is hunting up in the Northeast somewhere. In late November, Jake will be gun hunting in Wisconsin for Wisconsin deer camp again.
Yep.
And then December, we've got gun season around here in Iowa. I don't know where else we would go in December.
Did we go anywhere last year? Other than
No,
here?
we're usually coming off of like 3 months of just solid hunting nonstop by that point, and it's nice.
It's kind of the Iowa shotgun seasons. We hit it pretty hard for that, doing wind bumps, friends coming into town, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for January this year, this is not set in stone yet, but I think there's a very high likelihood that we go back to Arizona and we hunt with Newberg and his crew for over-the-counter coos and mule deer in January. And what the initial plan, the plan for the last 4 or 5 months has been to hunt in Mississippi for the rut in January. But I'm almost positive that's not going to happen because of the flooding that's going on in the Delta.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
It's just been nonstop flooding down there. It's a really bad deal. Obviously, there's way bigger problems down there than us finding a place to go hunting right now. But I would assume that we'll be going to a different southern state or a different southern location in January. I don't know if it'd be Alabama again or if it'll be Mississippi, Georgia. I'm not sure. Unfortunately, with the deer tour, like turkey tour, we throw in a handful of new states every year. With the deer tour, because just the logistics of it, it takes you longer to harvest bucks or harvest deer or find deer on these deer hunts. Sometimes you can go to a state for turkeys and you can get into them within 3 days and have a good
first
hunt.
day.
Yeah. With deer, when we go in blind to these spots, a lot of times it's taken us 4, 5, 6, 7 days to really get on stuff. That's not to say we're not planning on hunting new states every year. We are. We're going to Michigan and North Dakota and some of these other places.
Yeah,
Oklahoma,
there's
Kansas.
quite a few new ones.
Yeah.
So.
But I know a lot of folks also want us to go to PA.
Yeah.
And up in the Northeast. And it was like, man, I don't know if we can get the Northeast and Michigan in the same fall. If we don't get up there this fall, we will make a point to get up there next fall. And that's exactly what we told all of you from Michigan that were talking to us last fall. It's like, come to Michigan, come to Michigan, come to Michigan. Like, we will, but it might not be this year. And now it's going to be this fall. So we will get there at some point in most of these states. It just may take us, a year or two.
Yeah.
Oh, Ryan asked a good question. What did you guys think about South Dakota changing the rules for non-residents? That's a good question because we were honestly thinking about going to South Dakota early.
Yeah, we were going to work our way down from North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska. And obviously we can't do that now because they changed their regulations so that non-residents cannot hunt public land until October 1st.
No non-resident
So
hunting.
is it going to be? It's going to be North Dakota then right to Nebraska? You think?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, after hunting the Black Hills last year for turkeys, we were pretty fired up about going back to deer hunt. It's not like we can't, but The hope
Yeah.
was to go there early in the season and try to shoot a velvet deer, but
I think they're just doing that to protect their residents, to prioritize their residents more, obviously. I don't really know how I feel about it. I mean, obviously, me personally as a non-resident, I would like to be hunting in South Dakota in early September.
yeah.
But there's a lot of other people that, obviously have important opinions as well. And the resident hunters are what keeps the ship floating,
Right.
in most of these states. Non-residents to a certain degree, and some of them, like Iowa, non-resident preference points and tags are a big part of the revenue here because we just don't have the amount of resident hunters.
Caleb Brinks was asking, what Trophy Ridge site do we recommend? I'm looking into getting one. I'm more of a multiple pin guy. I guess I'll just toss in my opinion real quick. I've been shooting the Hotwire, which is a 3-pin site with a movable bottom pin. And I really like the idea of 3 pins with the floater because your sight housing is a lot less clustered. 3 pins, 20, 30, 40 is the way I have it set up right now. Like that's going to cover almost all of my shots at whitetails. And instead of having like 4 or 5 pins, it gets a little more cluttered and confusing. 3 pins for me is perfect. But yet if you want to practice or shoot out to a farther distance, you got that movable pin on the bottom.
We've only been messing with that Hotwire site for a few months now, but I've got it on my bow too. And this is just my opinion, obviously, but I think it's about as good a site as you can find for whitetail hunting.
Yeah.
Just because that's my pet peeve with site housings, like what Greg said. A lot of folks that hunt out west are dialing in long distance, and they've got 7 pins or something in there, and I don't want all that stuff for whitetails, so then I'm going to be shooting at 15 to 25 yards for the most part. I think it's a sweet sight. I really like mine so far.
Somebody says, what's the closest you've hung a stand to a bedded buck?
Man, that's a good question.
Yeah. Have you ever hung one and been able to see it out of it?
I've seen them stand up a lot. Trying to think, Greg. You saw one stand up last year that had to have been 60, 70 yards.
It was a little closer than that. It was probably 50, 55. That was the same night you guys had the encounter in the buck nest.
Yeah.
I was just closer to the access point from there, and I had that nice young 10-pointer stand up at about 50, 55
Oh, yeah.
yards.
I was thinking of that other one where you were down south by yourself and that 140 type 10-pointer stood up out of his bed. Remember that hunt?
Yeah, he was a little. Yeah, that was about the same distance. So yeah, about 50, 60 yards.
I'd say that's about right.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's about as close as we've got. Now, and last year at the buck nest, that was just so perfect. He stood up at 80, 90 yards, and he was walking right at the tree. It's like, well, this is it. This is what we drew it up. This is exactly how it's supposed to work. He's going to walk in here and get shot at 10 yards. The wind. They have this nose thing that smells you and stuff sometimes. It really ticks you off when it happens, too. But
yeah, somebody was asking earlier if Ted Miller was going to join us on the deer tour at any point, but more realistically, hopefully we're going to go join Ted Miller over there and maybe shoot some does or just hunt with him.
he's a classic.
Deer camp with Ted Miller. It'd be hard to beat.
Yep. All right. Is that it? We good?
Yep.
Sure.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us.